Any landing is a good landing. But you really want to shoot for saving the plane. All right, hey, welcome to Below the Trees podcast. We got a really great episode for you today. We get into some really interesting discussions about the tariffs. We haven't talked about the tariffs yet, but we also talk about Titanic and Titanic conspiracy theories. Bet you didn't know those existed. I sure didn't. And then we also get into what it means to be creative and the process of creativity. Talking about Robert Rodriguez's recent appearance on the Lex Friedman podcast as well as the Joe Rogan podcast. Disclaimer, I did not listen to the Joe Rogan one on account of I did not listen to it yet. I don't know, but stay tuned. Please pull up a chair, work out, do whatever you need to do. Listen to our show, and we'll see you on the other side. This is the Below the Trees podcast.
Everything there should be good.
One live. Right on set. Right on set. One live. Checking audio. Checking audio. Check. Check. Check 1 2 1 2. Big Brian's in the house, and the rest of you are through.
I was hoping for that to rhyme.
Let's see your levels, John.
Oh no, we're good.
We're good levels?
Yeah, we're good. We should be good.
All right. Quiet on the set. Everyone in the back. Crew. To your stations. All right. Action. I was just hey John, welcome to the podcast today. Fuck. How the heck are you, buddy?
Getting the chops wet, huh?
Huh?
Getting the chops wet, huh?
Yeah, getting the chops wet. We're wetting the chops here.
What are we talking about today?
Man, we got a really good show planned.
Killing me here, bro.
We got a really good show planned for tonight.
What's in that Churchill?
Huh?
What's in that Churchill?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. Well, we got a really good show for you guys tonight. But first, before we get into business, man, how are you?
I'm chilling, bro.
I know we were already talking a bit before we even started recording, but
yeah, it's all good.
It's good to touch base and see how you're doing. Let the world know what's going on with you, John. As you smoke your Churchill.
Fucking. Oh no.
Uh-oh. Just John, he's going to edit this so you can see his process. It's all part of the show. This is all part of the big plans we have for tonight.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No, don't believe him. This is part of the... This is actually in the show notes here. Crew guy, can you get me my show notes, please? Okay, yeah. We're a non-union shop here, so he just told me no. It's all good. There you go. There he is. Talk to us, John. What's going on? What's going on with you this week? We had a beautiful week.
Not much.
Awesome. We really got a lot out of this segment. Oh, well. Cool. On to the next part. Thank everyone who tuned into our last video. We appreciate it.
Wait, Brian.
Huh?
How was your week?
Oh, it was good.
Was it good?
Actually, I would say it was okay. If I'm being completely honest.
I'm kidding. I'm just riffing off of your acting.
No, I'm not. I'm not acting. I'm reacting. See, that's the thing they don't tell you about acting.
Well,
right?
then.
Huh.
Keep at it.
Okay. That's my thespian hand.
This podcast has gotten out of hand.
We're already diving off the deep end here.
Let's try over.
No, this is part of the episode. This is part of the plan.
Oh.
This is part. So this episode has been planned for weeks. Been coming up with content for this episode. So this is all on script. I see it on our notes back there.
Stage direction over there.
Yep.
Oh shit. I lost my cue.
My production manager's telling me let's keep it up because now we're getting off schedule.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay. Anyways.
Union rates.
Yeah, we're a non-union shop here. Non-union shop here, you know. People are walking out on us. So we pay non-union rates. If anyone's looking for work, we're a non-union shop. SAG will and IATSE, they're probably not want you to work for our shop. Oh, but yeah, good show today. So we got over how we're doing, good and okay, respectively. I see you're smoking a cigar. Do you have a lighter over there?
Matches.
I'll take the. I'm not that cool. All right. Well, so we were talking quite a bit off camera before the show, and two things came up of interest. And I'll start with the first one. We'll get your hot takes. This is a hot take hour. So the Colorado Rockies not doing so good.
Absolute dog shit.
Yeah, they've won 7 games and we're approaching mid-May. Apparently, the worst performing team since 1901. There was something interesting I saw. A graphic. Things that did not exist in 1901. They had the airplane, Titanic. Some other stuff too.
Women's suffrage
was on there. So the last time a team performed as bad as the Rockies, women did not have the right to vote. God damn, Rockies. What the hell's going on over there? And is that pre-Titanic? I assume Titanic was actually being constructed though, because it was a big ship. It was almost the size of the Empire State Building for vertical. So it was one of those big ships.
Yeah.
It's an interesting fact. That is huge. Actually, a little quick sidebar, also on script right now, on schedule. So there's a YouTube channel I encourage everyone to check out. We're friend of the pod, Ocean Liner Designs. This guy, man, you're talking about a Titanic expert on YouTube. This guy, he knows it all. He'll talk to you about a porthole, a bathroom in the third class lounge, and not even a lounge, it's more like a holding area.
Latrine.
Yeah, latrine in the holding area, the third class holding area, aka the lounge. He'll tell you all these really great details about the sinking. Ocean Liner Design. Have you ever checked out that channel?
Never.
But it's not just Titanic. He also has other videos too. He talks about ships and shipping. Not the shipping of containers, but like actual nautical themes and topics. Oh, wait, what?
Births
and girths. But yeah, Ocean Liner Designs. I'm surprised you hadn't heard of that channel. I thought you were a big Titanic fan. I thought you still teared up to Rose when she was just hogging the fucking door in the water.
No.
But okay, so it's actually pretty horrifying when you think about it. So one of the details the movie got wrong.
Still on script.
This is all part of the show. Let me get my show notes here. Yeah, Titanic sidebar. It's part of the it's part of the tonight's show. But anyway, so Titanic. Interesting thought. So in the movie, in the movie, basically, the lights are still on for a while, right? And so a lot of people said, "Oh, it was pitch black." Like eyewitnesses and survivors, it was very, very dark. They heard explosions as the ship was sinking, that kind of thing. But so yeah, that was one detail the movie got wrong, mainly for Hollywood reasons, right? Because imagine if the movie Titanic, James Cameron, right? He directed this movie, and the most important scene, the sinking, was just a black screen, and probably
just the silhouette.
Yeah, just a silhouette. What's that? Okay. It's not as dramatic. Because it was a very dramatic scene. Yeah. I can only imagine seeing. But what survivors had talked about, and with the press, after is the screams. Because it's like 1,500 people died. Rest in peace. April 12th, 1912, not 14. Maybe that day. I don't know. But anyways, I can only imagine hearing all the screams. That'd be terrifying. But so this guy Ocean Liner Designs, all on script. He talked about, there was this company, I can't remember the company. They did 3D mapping of the whole shipwreck site. This is post Titan, by the way. Also, rest in peace those Titan guys too. You know, this
is a very dark podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, man. It's almost as dark as the night on April 12th, 1912.
The hole.
Pretty dark.
The hole is gone.
The hole is gone. Well, anyways, so they did mapping of this whole area, and they actually the company released
LiDAR or something.
No, well, it was like they took like something like 300,000 pictures. It was a lot of pictures to sort through. But so they took 300,000 pictures. They did all this very, very detailed mapping, and they released it's like maybe like 10% of the rendered image to the public through Steam. So it's like a VR game that you can actually, or I don't even know if it's VR. I think you're just in like some sort of submarine and you're perusing through the Titanic. But what's great about the game and the actual full image is that it's exactly how the Titanic is when it sank and how it is today. And so when they're going through the wreck site, you can see like just the amount of detail. And this guy Ocean Liner Designs, he's pointing out, oh hey, that particular tapestry or something, or not tapestry, all the tapestries would be gone by now, but you know, maybe like a piece of wood or something would have been in a lounge or in a staircase or something like that. So, but all the stuff that's there at the bottom of the ocean, like, with really clear detail of the debris, it's pretty crazy. And when you think about the actual sinking, it's pretty crazy too, because is it the bow? The bow is the front of the ship. Am I right? Is that right?
You're the one that watches the channel.
I don't know. I don't know the jargon. You know what I mean? I don't know nautical jargon.
Whoa!
Well, that's crazy. Oh, another detail. It just reminded me with that nice burp
all on
of yours.
Script. All part of the script.
Is
all right here is part of the script.
That was planned. He had just the right amount of beer prior to the recording of this episode to cue that burp at 11. That was at 11:08. I think that's on brand on script. So, anyways, so the Titanic hit this iceberg, right? This is crazy shit. And this is what the scan, they can see like where the damage is. And it really wasn't that significant a damage, but it was long. The sinks to the water, the damage to the watertight compartments was just long enough, and it went through too many watertight compartments that the ship actually took on the water. Some people, and I was reading comments and everything, it's actually a miracle that the ship lasted as long as it did. And that it didn't just sink right away, because that could have been a thing, but the design of the ship allowed it to stay up long enough that at least some people were able to get to safety. But something that they found was really interesting in these scans is that the boiler room was always believed to have shut off at a certain point prior to the sinking. But they have evidence through these scans that the boilers were still operational as the ship was sinking. So what that means is the men down there keeping the ship going were working as the ship was sinking, which is a pretty crazy thought. And so when the ship broke in half, I want to say it's the bow. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong or call me an idiot. I'm not a ship expert here. I can't even speak. I'm not a ship expert. That's also a problem with American English. This is on script, by the way. Americans, when we're talking, we don't enunciate and articulate our words. So, but back to the whole, the fucking bow, whatever, it's coming down. That kind of slowly floated. Whereas the rear of the ship, what is it called?
The stern is the back. The bow is the front.
Okay, so I had it right. I couldn't remember stern, though. So as the stern, John, look at me over here. I'm going to give you the demonstration. I could be getting all these details wrong, too. So just, you can fact check me if you want. Well, anyways, the stern of the ship violently sank to the bottom of the ocean, and because there was still air in there. So as the pressure was decreasing, that's why you had people, eyewitnesses, testify that they heard explosions, because all that, as the stern of the ship was going down, all that air was still in the ship, and
in the hull,
depressurization in the hull of the ship, and caused those explosions. So you got to figure there were still people inside the ship as it was going down.
Oh, no,
they would have died instantly, kind of like the Titan. Poor Titan guys, man. That's another interesting one. We'll get into it on a future episode when we really deep dive into the Titanic
and all its diminutive derivatives.
Yeah, exactly. This, but you know, it is what it is, right? That's sad. The Titanic is an interesting story, though, man. It makes me a little bit emotional, man, even to this day, when you think about all the people, man. It's fucking dead.
Do you know the banking conspiracy theory behind it?
I knew there was probably going to be something that I haven't heard. I'm sure there is. What's the conspiracy? Fill me in.
So, one is, I believe J.P. Morgan is one of the larger commissioners of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were commissioning it, there's a rumor that they made a twin of the Titanic. And the twin is actually the Queen Mary. And that there's a insurance fraud behind it. Because on the ship were all the enemies who didn't want America to have the Federal Reserve.
Uh-huh.
And so in order to have the Federal Reserve, we made sure that these handful of families that were against the formation of the Federal Reserve were on the Titanic. And there's record to prove that at some point all of these, the richest American banking families were all on the Titanic at one point. But just before, hitting the rough water, some were able to just get off on the last stop, essentially.
Okay, that's factually incorrect, though.
England.
But the sinking happened on its maiden voyage.
So
prior. So you're saying prior to launch, because it was made in Dublin. No, not Dublin. Belfast is where it was constructed, Northern Ireland, and then from there it sailed to Southampton for its inaugural voyage. There was no other stops. It was a Atlantic ship. What do they call it? What are they? Transatlantic. Oh. So you're saying on the road from Belfast to Southampton,
right,
some of the banking families were on there.
Correct, because we were
they just checking it out, or what were they doing?
Checking out the
Interior?
The whole thing, because, I mean, it was the spectacle of the century.
Yeah.
And they were all discussing this concept of banking. Like, that was also at the tip of their tongues, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what was about to happen. And the big controversy was not everybody was in favor of it.
Okay. But
and when you look into who died, these families, they were on the ship. They didn't want to have the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Morgan and his crew were able to get off the ship.
So JP Morgan was on the ship as it traveled from Belfast to Southampton.
Right. And then got off.
I've never heard that. I mean, I'm not saying it isn't true. I don't know. But I've never heard that before.
And so it's the conspiracy that it was necessary for that ship to go down, given that banking would change based off of that. And if the conspiracy is true that the Queen Mary is actually...
Well, the Titanic did have a sister ship. Oh, an exact replica. Not the Queen Mary, the Britannic.
But for following this odd conspiracy...
Yeah.
That's what it's saying.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I don't buy it. Oh, because the waters the night it sank weren't rough. It was very still, actually. Which is partially why it was why the iceberg was very stagnant, because the waters were so still. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But if I remember, based on everything, it was still waters. But who knows? Maybe everything's possible. But is it true? I don't know. That's something I got to look into. I never heard of that. So based on this conspiracy stipulates that at one point all these banking families were on, all these bankers were on the Titanic as it went from Belfast.
All these New York bankers.
All these New York bankers were on the journey from Belfast to Southampton. Okay. Huh?
And the big dogs got off.
Yeah.
They said, we got business to do here.
In Southampton.
We got to go to London.
Interesting. I got to look that up. Never heard that. Was JP Morgan even alive? I got to look this up. When did he die? Let's see. When did I think he was alive. I'm trying to remember his date. Yeah, he died a year later in 1913. I'll tell you though, man, he's JP Morgan, for being one of the richest people ever. He's sure one ugly son of a gun. Good Lord. If anyone's ever seen JP Morgan before, or you haven't seen him rather, look it up. But so you said there was multiple conspiracies. Did I hear that?
Yeah, I mean,
what's the other one? So that's the big one, right?
So I mean, like, just looking up J.P. Morgan, Chase, and Titanic ship. That's all I googled, and then immediately it's like Wikipedia Titanic conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah.
Reuters corrected fact check: J.P. Morgan did not sink the Titanic. History.com: the craziest Titanic conspiracy theories explained. RMS Titanic. What's the other? Washington Post: fact-checking QAnon conspiracy theories.
It's interesting.
J.P. Morgan and the Transportation Kings. It's a book. So I mean, it's a conspiracy that's out there, right? This is not my undertaking. I'm only the messenger, and don't shoot the messenger. I'm here for shits and giggles.
God damn, I can't like this for shit.
So JP Morgan's, this is all of the AI overview from Google. His International Mercantile Marine Co. acquired White Star Line in 1902, making him a major stakeholder in the company that built and operated the Titanic.
Oh, I didn't know that. His company acquired White Star Line?
Yes.
What was the name of his company?
International Mercantile Marine Co. acquired the White Star Line in 1902.
Interesting. When did the Titanic construction start? Was it around the same time?
I don't know. I'm just reading off of what we got here. We can look that up in a sec. Morgan attended the launch of the Titanic in 1911. He had booked a luxurious suite on the Titanic's maiden voyage, including a private promenade deck and specifically designed bathroom, but canceled his trip shortly before departure. Morgan's last-minute cancellation fueled conspiracy theories suggesting he knew of the ship's impending doom, possibly to eliminate opponents of the Federal Reserve, which was established in 1913.
By Woodrow Wilson.
These theories are widely refuted by historians and Titanic experts. According to John Strauss's biography of Morgan, he canceled his trip because he was dealing with a delay in shipping his art collection from Europe to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York.
What do you think? What's your thoughts? I know you said you're just a messenger, but I know you have thoughts.
I know sometimes, well, I mean, I know in business, like, Morgan was known as one of the most staunch, I'm going to get what I want kind of guys out there.
Yeah. Well, he, by adjusted for inflation, like him, Carnegie, and Rockefeller were the wealthiest men that ever lived, right? I mean,
pretty much.
They could get whatever they want.
Yeah. No, they ruled the country 100%. And I'll put it this way. I wouldn't put it against man to say that we wouldn't be capable of doing something like this to get what they want.
Yeah. I you know, is it possible? I think, yeah, of course anything's possible, but it's hard to
just like I find it really interesting that the World Trade Center had terrorism insurance.
Well, so I looked into that. And so the Larry Silverstein, he leased it from the Port Authority because it was owned by the Port Authority. He had a 99-year lease that was purchased. I can't remember. It was maybe a year before the Trade Center went down, but it was also after the fact that there was a terrorist attack there in 1993.
Sure.
So part of that lease structuring of that lease agreement was there needed to be insurance for a terrorism policy. I don't think that's really weird. It seems pretty reasonable considering that it was a terrorist target previously. And the other thing so I remember reading.
But the dollar amount is what stood out.
Well, so after 9/11 happened, right, when it came to all the insurance stuff, Larry Silverstein didn't make out a lot of money with that, especially for what the buildings were worth. They were, I want to say, all those litigation literally just ended probably a few years ago. And the amount that the insurance company wanted to pay versus what he thought was owed for the policy, there was a huge discrepancy there. So I think the argument that he made out, was uber rich after that. Obviously, he's a real estate mogul, so he already had a lot of money to begin with. But when you look at what actually was settled for, he still lost a lot of money with the Trade Center coming down. So I don't know. I don't think that Hey, I did it for the insurance money. That's something that holds up to water when you lose money. Like, why would you do that if you lost money in the end? Just my thought. But I don't know. You probably have more insight.
I'm just saying, it's just interesting.
But I hear you, but when you put it does sound interesting on his face, like, oh, they have terrorism insurance? Like, a lot of the same people, too. Like, oh, those buildings were made to withstand airplanes. Yeah, but it was built in the 70s. Airplanes are much smaller than the airplane that hit the actual trade center. So it's like, yeah, when you hear it at face value, like, oh, he took out in terrorism insurance, that's suspicious. But when you put it in the context of everything, it kind of it becomes less interesting, I think. I don't know. Just my thought. But could it happen? Could have been. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Just like this J.P. Morgan character. Why didn't he get on like Willie Brown, San Francisco mayor? Why didn't he take the plane that day? Because he was scheduled to be on one of them, right? Or was he scheduled to fly that day?
I don't know.
Oh, you look that one up. Willie Brown, 9/11. I know he had canceled a flight on 9/11, but I think he might have been flying from San Francisco to New York. This episode's totally on script today. We did not just, come out of talking about Titanic and 9/11 conspiracy theories for no reason. We'll get into it another time. We got an episode. We got to stay. Our producer's telling us to wrap it up. What are you finding over there?
Nothing yet.
That's the name of the mayor, right? Willie Brown?
Yeah.
That should be like the first thing that pops up.
The first thing is like a SF Gate article, but
let's see.
Yeah, that he got people telling him 8 hours beforehand, no, you shouldn't get on that flight to New York.
Yeah. I mean, it really doesn't. Who knows? Yeah, it's curious, that's for sure. That SF Gate article is from 2001.
Yeah. Odd.
Yeah, it's definitely odd. But does it signify a conspiracy? I mean, was it inside job? I don't know. I don't think so. But it does spark questions. What are you looking up now?
Are you sure it was the Port Authority?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Port Authority owned the World Trade Center, and it was Silverstein had a 99-year lease on it. I mean, that guy Larry Silverstein, the old footage, he looked old then. He's like a bag of bones now. I think he's still living too. Yeah, he's 93 today. Was it the Port Authority or is it something else?
Yeah, but it also says individuals, and I'm like,
yeah, it's like some weird mix of government, private industry, or private real estate developers.
probably not just real estate. I mean,
it's everybody.
Rockefeller. Like,
well, that was kind of a question I was going to ask you. So, obviously, those families, the Vanderbilts, the Rockefeller families, those families are still around. What kind of influence do they have? Or is their influence outsized, or did some of the major influence that they did have die out when, the patriarchs, the heads of the families, passed away?
It just depends.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if the family was smart enough to figure out how to keep the money in trusts and foundations, then more than likely they're still doing very well.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they're still rich. I don't think that's the case. They're probably still very handsomely.
But the same kind of authority and power, I don't think so. I mean, you're talking about people who made their money. These are industrialists.
Yeah.
When
railroad, oil.
After, 1970, we no longer are producing jack shit in this country anymore.
Yeah.
And so the prominence of those families kind of dwindles.
Well, so what do you make of the shift? Right. So most of the world manufactures the goods that we use, right? All, textiles, all that. We don't really do a lot of textile manufacturing in the United States anymore. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But so the whole, at least one of the stated goals for tariffs is to reshore some industry. But do you think that's kind of a fool's errand? Like, why would we want to create textiles in the United States again to bring back textile jobs? I would imagine that really innovation is the key. If we want to manufacture here, it's like, well, we're not going to use people anyways. It's all going to be completed by innovations through machines and that kind of thing. So it just seems a little weird that we want to go back to a time where everything is manufactured by individuals at a factory when, our primary competitor who does a lot of the manufacturing wants to move away from manufacturing and go into more of an information economy like ours, right? China wants to do that, but we're trying to go back. Doesn't really make sense to me. What do you think?
Go back to your original question
about manufacturing.
That's when all the money was made.
Yeah, and
look at China right now. Yeah, they have cheap labor.
Yeah,
but they're doing all the manufacturing, and when you do all the manufacturing,
yeah,
you're the driver.
Well, no, I'm not against, or I'm not saying that we should have no manufacturing here, but if the argument is, we want to bring back all the manufacturing of the textiles back home, back to the U.S. shores.
I know.
That doesn't make sense to me. Now, if we want to say, hey, let's bolster our manufacturing so we can create all the chips here on this side, yeah, that makes sense to me. But it seems like there's innovation is going to happen whether we like it or not.
See, but I think you're saying it, you just haven't quite seen it yet.
What do you mean?
So, has anyone really defined that statement of saying we're going to bring back American manufacturing and it's going to be individuals who are going to be working at the warehousing and the manufacturing
and
plants.
the messaging I've heard rather, is that they want to bring back jobs, manufacturing jobs.
Okay.
The messaging that I've heard doesn't. I mean, it that's about as clear as it gets. Clear as mud, I think. It's not very. I mean, obviously, certain tariffs, right, are targeting specific industries like cars, right? More cars manufactured here in the United States, that kind of thing. But it's clear as mud. I think it's the way it sounds like to me. They're not really defining what they want back and what they don't want.
So I think you're spot on saying it's more than likely going to be, if it is manufacturing, more of a robotic-based industry.
Yeah.
And we don't want to give that IP to China.
Yeah.
Which is basically the bottom line.
Yeah, I know.
Because as soon as we do that, they're going to take it and they're going to undercut it.
Yeah, I mean, well, you saw it with NVIDIA, whatever Chinese company, I forget the name of the company, but they started making chipsets that were comparable to NVIDIA, but for significantly less.
No, it's a partnership.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Because when you do business in China, you're supposed to make a partnership.
Yeah.
And so this partnership then took the IP in the partnership, because you show me, I show you. Yeah. And they took it, they saw it, and they said, great, partnership over.
Yeah.
And now took all the IP, made their own company, and just did it their own way, undercutting it.
Yeah, that sounds
the entire way.
And that's what, when I heard about that company, that was the first thing I thought of, is it's probably all stolen anyways.
Okay. So we don't want to continue with that, because it's already at a point where China has like almost $1 trillion, $900 billion surplus. Yeah. Right? Surplus. In trade.
Okay.
Not just with us, but like as China doing business back and forth, they have a almost $900 billion surplus. Mm-hmm. Right? And they're not using that money to buy our goods.
Exactly.
So that's part of this whole commotion.
Yeah. No.
So hold on.
Yeah. I'll let you finish. My fault.
So if I'm somebody who's interested in doing the manufacturing back in the U.S. using robotics, now that we understand that that's pretty clear of what's going to happen, if that's going to happen. Yeah. Right now, interest rate is at what percent?
I don't know, maybe 6%.
If you're looking at big multi-million-dollar deals, 6, 7, 8%. Yeah. That's not attractive. There's no margin to squeeze from. Yeah. Remember when we were giving out all this manufacturing, the interest rate in the country was actually at a 0%. Yeah. So now that is getting a whiplash here, where we had to increase the rates, partially because of the amount of money surplus that was done in COVID. Yeah. What happened in 2008. Yeah. And so now we're in an environment where interest rates are very high, and wanting to put a lot of money in investment isn't that attractive. It will become more attractive if interest rates are closer to like 2%, 3%, 4%, which is why you hear Trump getting so upset
with Jerome Powell.
With Powell saying, you need to cut these rates because you're not helping my plan. Okay. And I said originally you have to go back to your first question. Mm-hmm. Your first question was what happened with these industrialists and their money. Right now, we're in a moment where the children of these industrialists and the children of the people who made their money in the early stages of tech, right? They have to now transfer the money over, i.e., Trump. he has this massive estate tax that's going to face him when he passes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to turn over that estate to this government, where this government has all this waste.
Yeah.
This is his administration's words, right?
Yeah.
And fraud. Again, his administration's words.
Yeah.
Because now, knowing that we're going to have to do this estate transfer, how do we want to put that money to work? I think the thinking is, if we get a low interest rate, we'll be happily willing to invest it back in America in manufacturing, in robots, in energy, in all of the new tech that has emerged from our intellectual property that has not yet made its way to China.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. So you have to create these tariffs to force an environment to shake things up, to try to lower the interest rate. Because ultimately, the estate tax is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to have it happen when interest rates are at 8% and there's not much real estate or investments out there? Or would you rather do it when it's at like 2%, 3%, 4%?
Yeah, definitely the latter.
That's what's going on.
Yeah. No, all that makes crystal clear sense to me. I think what I was getting at is more of the rhetoric behind it, and I guess what the layperson thinks, right? You know, you hear a lot of people talk about these things in glowing light, but, oh man, we're going to have all these textile jobs coming back. I've heard people talk about, you know, manufacturing closing in the United States. It just seems it's like that's you're
but it
missing
is
the
happening,
point.
though.
You think, is it?
I work with clients where I know it's happening.
Where they're manufacturing textiles?
Where the shift has happened.
Oh, well, that's good.
Because you're squeezed out.
Yeah. But is that being done by people, or are they innovating with machinery, or what's the deal there?
I think that's a case by case thing. But if you want to be proud, like I'm doing it with our hats here.
Oh yeah. Do you have the
they're made here in America. I don't have an example yet.
Yeah.
But
stay tuned for the
they're going to be
hats.
They have to be hand stitched, they're hand sewn, they're made here.
Yeah.
Like
no, I'm not for that. I think that those are all good things. Of course, if we could buy more stuff made in the U.S., I think I'm all for it. I'm not against the tariffs per se. It's just again,
no.
My thing is just some of the stuff that it's how it's being sold to the layperson is that we're going to go back to this peak era of manufacturing, that's just not the case. Like all these great jobs that are supposedly coming back, union jobs, and that's not happening. I think it's going to be, and for better reason, right? Because we're going to probably manufacture more than we ever had because of innovation, and I think it's going to be good. That's my thought, anyways. I don't know. We'll see how it all pans out, though. So, but that estate tax, though, that's an interesting perspective. I don't think I've heard that. That makes. But
that's the issue at hand.
Total sense. Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah. Interesting stuff, man. So, do you think the Fed is, or what's going to be the tipping point for the Fed to say, all right, we're going to lower the interest rates?
We'll find out.
Yeah. Because it seems like the economy reacts favorably to stability. You know, someone's
obviously.
Yeah, this Treasury Secretary says, we're using these whole tariffs thing as just a way to make deals happen. The market says, we're fine, and then the Commerce Secretary speaks and it's, nope, we're all in, baby. Tariff war all the way. And the economy obviously it doesn't respond very well. But it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out and what's going to actually make the Fed. Because I know in Europe, too, the central banks there lowered their interest rate. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah. If I remember, that's right. And Trump, I remember Trump saying something basically like, they're doing it everywhere else, Jerome. Come on, man. Biden's back, man. Come on. So it'd be interesting to see. For a personal note, if the interest rates do come down, it'd be nice. Get a little refi action going.
But how is what Trump is trying to accomplish, if it's just us, making our assumptions, our conspiracies, any different from good old Morgan saying, I need to make this Federal Reserve Bank because I got a lot of money that I need to start loaning out, and I want to make sure that my best customer is this Reserve Bank.
Yeah.
So I'm set for the rest of my life forever.
Yeah.
So I'll do whatever I need to. So in this case, it's a trade war. In this case, it's creating the rhetoric of, what you're kind of saying is what you think is false hope for the layperson. And what I'm telling you is, no, there's something deeper, which is that rate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in order for that layperson to have a place to work, this person is saying, I need that rate to go down.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do that. Otherwise, screw it.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do some other way to force this rate to come down.
That's a good point. The other side of this about the tariff war as a national security concern too makes a lot of sense to me too, because you have, in China. Yeah.
Well, there's a real specific reason for that, but.
Well, I mean, what real specific reason for what?
A national security concern.
What was your specific reason?
We're just constantly talking about world trade today. So it's the WTO.
Yeah.
And the WTO has a specific clause in there that says you can only make changes to your tariffs if it is a national security event. And so since 2000, right, the trade is always supposed to be at around zero on both sides.
Yeah.
It hasn't been that way.
That's right.
If we put up a chart, you'll see that it kind of goes here and then just straight flats down and straight flats down even further. And this is a chart that you can look up. You can look for it here. It comes up from like 1840 all the way forward. And so since 2000, that's when we allowed China to come into the WTO.
Yeah.
And China has just completely taken it all over.
Yeah.
And so by that, the only way to get around the WTO, because otherwise it's like, I think 7 judges that need to vote, and each case takes years before it actually gets enacted.
Yeah.
And so famously, one of them is like the case of soybeans and American farmers complaining, hey, we need to sell our soybeans here at this price, and we're having this competition over here. Can we get some help, WTO?
Yeah.
And by the time WTO got to it, it already had evaporated.
Yeah.
Most of the farmers because they couldn't compete. And this happens over and over and over and over and over. And this has been going on over and over and over and over and over and over for every single different item.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the only way that we can do something is by saying it's a national security issue.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And so that's why it's being done this way. Because otherwise you'd have to go through the commission of the WTO, and that could take years.
Yeah.
And we know this president only has 4 years to do anything.
Yeah.
And so basically the lawyers in the room are the ones that decided, hey, bro, the only way we can get around this is by using that clause. Because that's the knife. That's the knife that's just stuck in your back, and you can't get off.
Yeah.
Right? So the same way how when Trump was trying to run as a candidate, and they're trying to throw him through all the courts, the Democrats, it's the same thing that happened with the United States.
Yeah.
Trying to get rid of this trade issue. This literal monkey on your back that's just constantly stabbing you.
Yeah.
You have to enact this national security clause that's deep within there.
That makes sense to me, dude. I mean, it's just crazy to me that China gets away with so much stuff. I won't get too much into it, but I have a family member who was targeted. You know, she works in the defense industry, and she was targeted by the Chinese government because of her work. And, you know, in her work in the defense industry, she's, you know, obviously got top secret clearances, things like that. And I remember she had a State Department like security detail for a year outside of her house because it was the threat from China was that real, at least real enough where the State Department says, we're gonna step in here. And but she was telling me some of the corporate espionage, the amount that how sophisticated their theft network is for stealing stuff from IP from major companies is very intricate, and the amount of, you know, how the technology that they use to steal our technology is pretty fascinating. Another thing too is, you know, the satellites, right? China has all these, probably little known, but China has all these satellites up there that are very tiny and hard to track. But what they're doing is they're basically conducting space warfare, knocking out, you know, other countries' satellites out of orbit and just fucking with shit. So, I mean, you know, after I remember hearing some of these details from my family member, and like, oh, that made Space Force make so much more sense. Because, you know, you hear Space Force at the time, that's a big fucking joke.
Spaceballs?
Yeah, right? Well, I guess we're doing Star Wars shit. But then you realize, oh, fuck, like, this is actually a frontier we're going to be crossing in the near future, and that shit's already going on. It's like, that kind of makes sense.
Pass me some matches.
Yeah. Oh, nice catch.
I didn't want to hit the freaking mic.
Nice throw. Oh, man. Well, the script that we came up for this podcast, man, wow. Really hot topics today. Well, let's segue a little bit. Let's have a little bit more fun. This is fun too. Let's get a little lighter. How about that? That's probably the word I'm going for. We were talking a bit earlier about creativity. Now, and the Muse, actually, the Muse. So the Muse, if you guys don't recall from our previous episode, I think it was last episode, right? We talked about Muse?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe we talked about it off camera. I don't remember. Well, anyways, Robert Rodriguez, he had a podcast with Lex Friedman I listened to. It was pretty recent. And I guess Joe Rogan, but I didn't listen to that one. And it was interesting, his whole thought process on creativity. He famously directed the El Mariachi movie for $7,000. He did basically everything: sound design, directing, cinematography, editing, all by himself, with just a one-man crew in Mexico with his actors and everything like that. But his whole thing was like, hey, man, you just got to do it. And his process for creativity, having less can be more, because you're forced to be resourceful and use your tools in ways that maybe, you know, you didn't think you can use them. It's like really that having less could be an asset, really.
Yeah.
In the sense that now you're forced to think outside of the box. How am I going to get the best possible shot, or how am I going to do this with what I have? And it was interesting to hear. But what really stood out to me was his whole idea, like, Lex was basically quizzing him on where do you come up with this shit? And his like, it's not me, man. He believes that everybody has these creative hands, that a creative spirit rather, that needs our hands to actually make. Because he was like, I don't really know what I'm doing all the time. I don't know how things are going to turn out. He's like, these movies can be so chaotic and things can go wrong all the time, but you just have to create and trust the process. And I think about it in my own life as well. You write something that, where the fuck did this come from? This is pretty good. Where do these words come from? It just kind of comes to you though when you're writing or you're thinking about things. And it was just interesting to see that concept, that the Muse, and we can re-educate us about the Muse, but it's seeing it play out in not only my own life, but seeing how it played out in the lives of other creatives. So, what are your thoughts on that, John? What's this Muse all about? Because I don't think we defined it last time.
I mean, what do you define the Muse as?
Well, I there's different ways you can look at it, right? But I do think of it as a force of some kind that gives you the words when you need them. You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes like today, we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. I mean, we're on script, but here we are. We're creating something. We had no idea what we were going to talk about or have a conversation on, and we just fucking start coming. And the words, you just reach for them, and they're there. And having that kind of play through you is interesting. So one of the key things that Robert Rodriguez talked about is not having an ego about it, being humble, because it's not necessarily you doing it, it's something working through you doing it, and our responsibility is to use it to work it. So I would just say it's a unseen force, and some might say it's God. I think I would probably to go that route as well, but do I really know? I don't know. What do you think?
I think the Muse appears when you start putting in the effort.
Yeah.
And the more you keep putting in the effort, the more the Muse gives you a little more.
Yeah.
But the reason the ego is important is because as soon as you start thinking that it's your ego, it's you who's creating, then that's when you start hitting blocks.
Yeah.
That's when you start struggling.
That's the damn truth.
And really the overarching best concept here is to say, you just have to keep working.
Yeah.
And keep producing whatever it is, whatever your art form is.
Yeah.
So that you can keep trying to get into that frequency.
Yeah.
To communicate with the Muse, to get better and better ideas, and eventually something might stick. You never know how long it'll take, but so long as you keep at it, you'll keep producing something closer and closer to, what we would now call goes viral.
Yeah.
Goes complete platinum, ape shit.
Yeah.
Blockbuster.
That's a good point.
But you just have to keep working at it.
Yeah.
Until, you're at that right moment where everything just starts working together.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you, man. I had a mentor years ago in a particular art form, and he told me, he was like, in this field, it's never that if you'll make it or will you make it. It's more of when you'll make it, but incumbent upon what effort you put into it, right? If you're consistently putting effort, like if you look at most bands, right? Most actors or most YouTube channels, whatever, they've been doing it some time. But I mean, there's obviously those channels that they blow up from one video or something like that. But generally speaking, most people who are working in some sort of creative capacity, they've been doing it a long time before they get to that point where it's like, oh, they're recognized for this. We got new band on the scene with their new hit single. But you realize, oh man, dig into the biography or the discography, they've been around for a long time. And they just kept working at it. And then, like you said, finally something stuck. And that's kind of how I see most things creatively now. Is that, whether it's making music, whether it's recording these podcasts or shooting or car videos or acting, whatever the case may be, it's kind of all the same if you think about it. It's just a process of creating. It's just a different mode of how you're communicating an idea, right?
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, so it's all kind of the same. It all lives under the same house, right, so to speak. So, like, I remember having this conversation with my wife recently, and the telling her my ideas and some of what I wanted to do. She's like, well, don't want to spread yourself too thin. It's like, well, I don't see it that way because everything's kind of done on a different time, right? And it's all, and at least the way I see it, it's all kind of the same. Like doing music or doing the pod, it's all sort of the same to me. And so it doesn't feel like I'm spreading anything too thin because, one of these days I'll go pick up my guitar and I'll write a few songs and I'll record them. And then I go do the pod another day and invite, rinse and repeat. You know what I mean? So there's really no stress or pressure. It's just creating a body of work using different methods of communication. So it's been interesting and it was really interesting to hear Robert Rodriguez kind of put the words in my mouth there. Like he articulated in a way I don't think I could have. And it was interesting to kind of hear his thought process and how he sees the world and kind of, and what I think really resonated with me is just seeing that in my own life and like, that makes sense, right? The Muse conversation we had previously, that makes sense. And then always remind yourself, like, you got to take your ego out of it. But that's even good fucking information for life in general. Like, be humble about the things you have, the things you do, and you get a lot better, you get way more appreciation for it, I think, too. But you also, I think you're able to enjoy it a little bit more. If you know what I mean. Hey, did you like my my improv of you earlier?
It's fun.
Let's smoke some doobies, man. Well, I think it's getting late. I should probably call it.
What else do you want to talk about?
I think we had a successful episode. Anything that's pressing for you?
The BMW.
Oh yeah, that's actually, I forgot about that. Anyone who watches our channel will have recently seen we posted a very, very good car video that John and I made, and we're doing more content like that. What about the BMW? It was the Firebird. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on our page. It's what is the title? Pontiac Firebird. Whatever. Just look for the Firebird. Look for the thumbnail with the cool bitchin' Firebird. We're making content like that now. That's our second car video, right?
Black Formula.
Black Formula. What a title.
The legendary 1971.
Where do you come up with these things? Is that the Muse?
Yeah.
Fuck.
But I mean, that's what it is, though.
Yeah.
It is a black formula. So I was just like, that's too.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Now I feel like an idiot.
It's a Firebird Formula 400.
Oh, man. Well, that's a formula for a winning video.
Right.
Well, that was actually a fun day. Where we shot it at, just as a fun fact, I know you know this, but they shot a very famous movie there, The Dark Knight Rises. Not The Dark Knight, not the second one. We're talking about the third, less popular one, The Dark Knight Rises. It was shot there, and I remember it shooting there when I used to go to school in the area, and they were supposed to only be there for like a week or two, but they ended up being there for a month. And I remember hearing that they had to pay for every day that there was a delay. It was like a $10,000 a day agreement that they had to pay. So interesting. But it's cool. It was cool to shoot there because, I mean, that parking structure was just it's got a good vibe to it. It's very seedy almost, and dark and mysterious. Perfect for the Black Formula.
Yeah.
And I thought it looked really good. And the edit that you did was really awesome too. Fun fact, there is a second edit, but it's using copywritten music, so it will not see the light of day. Unless
you decide to change it.
Unless we decide to change it.
I keep telling you that we should.
We'll see. Maybe one of these days.
Because your cut is different than my cut.
That's true.
That's part of the fun of this. That we were both using the same pool.
Yeah.
Of clips to make the video.
So I told my wife that we did that, and she was like, "Oh, so John hasn't seen your edit yet either?" I was like, "No, actually, I already sent it to him." And so next time we do that, we should not see each other's edit. Not that I think they were drastically different or the same. You know, they're just. It's just different eyes, right? Because it's still the same pool.
Yeah.
Still the same.
And I think we both had the same idea.
Yeah.
From the get.
Yeah.
So
that was interesting to see the different cuts, though.
Yeah.
But
that's why I think we should definitely publish them.
We'll probably change the music up. I got to find something I like, though.
Yeah.
We'll get it. Maybe on the next one. But yeah, we got more car videos coming up. Where we were planning and talking about the BMW video coming up. You want to talk about that?
I mean, what do you want to share about it?
I think what kind of car is it? Let's start there.
Okay. It's a 1963 BMW 700. This particular one is a Luxus, which is the luxury model. This particular one is spec'd and made for Italy, and I think it spent most of its life in Italy and then was imported to the US, I want to say like 5-6 years ago, and then in the last 6 months we've been restoring it.
Yeah.
Getting it back together, putting all the little pieces.
Nice.
And now we're at a point where mechanically it's running. I did post something short because I just wanted to see what the hell it looked like.
Oh, you posted something?
I posted something, yeah.
On the YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
I sent it to you.
Did you? No, I don't think you did. I don't think you did.
We must check.
Yeah, you're gonna trust but verify here, because I could totally be wrong.
Yeah, man, it's there.
Oh yeah. I saw that. BMW's Secret Hero. That's a good thumbnail, by the way.
I changed it again. But yeah, it's basically historically, if we want to get into the boring stuff, it's basically the car that saved BMW, because at this point, BMW made the Isetta, which was this tiny little door that opened out car, didn't sell well at all.
Yeah.
And they needed a car to sell well. All they had was this motorcycle engine, because after the war, the only thing that was left from all the bombing was just the motorcycle plants. And so how do we use this motorcycle? So they hired an Italian designer to style it, and he's the one that made this shape what it is. And so this thing sold like hotcakes.
Yeah.
In Europe.
Rightfully so. It's a beautiful car.
Yeah, it's super sexy.
Yeah.
So I personally believe that it probably inspired a lot of the cars in the Mr. Incredibles. So when you look at the cars from this era,
yeah,
early 60s,
yeah,
late 50s, they really looked at European, some American, and so certain cars of this design,
yeah, I
can see it in that movie, like the rear end, the front of this, and they just added into different things because it's just.
You're right. I mean, that the design it's such a nice. It's very pleasing to look at. Yeah. Even if you're not a car person, I think anybody can look at the car. Oh wow,
that's a cool car.
It's a cool car, and you're right. Like there's an aesthetic to it that it seems to have inspired that kind of transcended that particular model, and you can see its fingerprints everywhere else, and it's nice. It was like that retro modern kind of feel to it, or what do they call it? Not postmodern. God, why can't I think of the name right now? The furniture style.
Art Deco.
Not Art Deco's earlier. That's the 20s.
I know, I'm kidding.
God, why can't I think of the name? You know what I'm talking about.
Postmodern.
No, not postmodern.
Modern Plus.
God, what the fuck is it called? It's modern something.
Brutalist.
Not the Brutalist. What's it?
Neoclassical.
Modern.
Victorian. Edwardian. I'm just like naming off styles at this point.
Mid-century modern. That's what I was going for.
Okay.
Fuck, I couldn't remember mid-century. Mid-century modern. And that aesthetic, I mean, you look at the cars, that same aesthetic in the cars you see in the furniture of that time frame. And that's such a fucking cool time, like, for those design. Like, fuck, man, I love that shit. We have some sort of funky mid-century modern-ish type couches that we got that are pretty rad. But we ended up getting most of our furniture from, like, estate sales. And so our design is a little bit of a hodgepodge. But I really, every time we go to, like a flea market or antique store, you see some, and especially if you see some really nicely restored mid-century modern piece, you're like, God damn, it's so nice. And that's what I think I like, especially the Luxus. It has that appeal to it, and it's so nice. And just, I'm not like the most educated on cars, probably the least, but something about the car is just so pleasing to look at. I love it. But yeah, that's the stuff we're doing, man. We're making some car videos, and we're gonna do one for that one, right?
Yeah. Well, we got to finish it.
Yeah.
Mechanically, not quite there, and then paint, and yeah, then it'll be done. Yeah. Then we can start.
Hey, and check out that video in our videos tab. You can kind of see what what it is now, and then I'm excited to see what it's going to be.
If I could ask you, the person who knows nothing of anything about cars,
yeah,
which is not true, you know quite a bit.
Not too much.
What car would you, shit the bed, be excited for?
Oh,
I think I know the answer, but
well, let me ask you. What do you think?
I think you think you're gonna say a DeLorean.
You know me well.
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe even more, hanging out, and we were looking at DeLoreans online, and they were, they had some pretty decent condition DeLoreans. They were selling for like $20,000.
Yep.
And then
that was the time to buy them.
Yeah, it's probably the time to buy. Although I made no money at all, so
that was still the time to buy them.
Yeah. Probably regret not buying it, but now you see them and they're like sell for what, $80,000.
So do you know who DeLorean is?
The guy, John DeLorean.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know too much about him. I know I've read through his Wikipedia page, but are you going to ask me if I remember any of it?
No.
No, I don't know.
I'm gonna.
I know he went to jail. He did some unscrupulous things.
Okay, but he was the head guy for Pontiac.
Oh, okay.
And so the Firebird,
yeah,
was one of his babies, one of his projects.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So little fun factoid about cars that I know you do like.
Yeah.
And what we got around here.
Yeah, I mean, and the Firebird's nice too. That was a fun video to shoot.
So like the first one that DeLorean really did was the GTO.
Mm-hmm.
But then all the other muscle car stuff.
Mm.
He was a part of all of that. He was head.
Nice. That makes sense because I like the Firebird a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. If I fucking DeLorean, man, that'd be great to have.
To have or to just shoot? I'm just saying, just to shoot.
To have.
You want a DeLorean?
It's probably one of those things you get it. You're like, oh, this drive's a little weird.
I don't know. It doesn't actually.
This handle's funny. Nah, I think I would love that car, especially you get the butterfly, the doors that open that way.
To get them, man.
Huh?
It's the only way to get them.
No, I know, but that's what you get with that car, and the main reason I like the DeLorean is the movie, of course. Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies of all time, and there's something just so iconic about it. That movie immortalized it, and I'm sure, even at the time, it was already a popular car, but that the car took on its own character through that series, and man, I love it.
Same thing with the Firebird.
Yeah.
With Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
And the Trans Am.
That's a good point. Yeah, cars in film. That sounds like another episode.
Well, no, I mean that's a huge one. Like,
no, I'm saying another episode for the pod.
Fast and the Furious. We're going for it right now.
Fast and the Furious. I can't wait till Fast and Furious 20 comes out and they got rid of cars and they're now doing fucking space battles. Am I watching Fast and the Furious or Star Wars? No, you're watching Family. Use the Force, fam.
That's a good one.
Man, I didn't know they have fucking freeways on Mars and shit.
That's why Elon wants to go there.
Oh, man. Yeah, you know what? I think we figured it out. Elon.
It's family.
Elon cares so much about family. He wants to colonize Mars, right? And then the first thing he wants to do is film the Fast and Furious 27 there. So I can't. Justin Lin's grandson will be the director. I think that's the director. Or is it Justin Lin? I don't know. I could be wrong. Steven Spielberg's great grandson or granddaughter. One of the two, I don't know. Will be directing Fast and the Furious 27 in Mars.
From a coked out Stephen King.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Well, it's going to be the Stephen King like in Futurama where it's just his head. Fast and the Furious 27 is probably 100 years out. Nah, maybe 37.
At this rate.
Yeah. But yeah, so the car videos have been fun to shoot. We shot some stuff that we didn't post too, though. That I thought was fun. But
the car videos seems to be our best performing videos.
Yeah.
So we found the Muse.
We found the Muse, or the Muse found us. You know, obviously we're still doing this content too. It's more, like you said, like we've been saying. I think it's just a matter of having the consistency, the body of work, and I think too when I watch back some of our episodes, like you can see the growth in our in how we do it. Not to say we're fucking good or great or anything. I don't think that, but
today was a rough takeoff.
No, so I don't think so, man, because we came in here with a plan, and we executed that plan very well.
The landing gear got caught.
Yeah.
As we were going up, the flaps didn't want to go.
I'll tell you a quick story before we wrap up. I was in years ago. I took a flight simulator class as a pilot. You're using the yoke on the aircraft and having to adjust flaps, and then you have the two braking things. Taking that class, the rudders, yeah. Taking that class made me realize too. Oh, holy shit! The yoke doesn't do anything when you're on the ground. They're not steering. I guess I had a misconception. I'm sure most people do, but just to solve your misconceptions now. When they're on the ground taxiing, they're using their feet, using the rudders. They don't use the yoke. Only people like me thought that. So, yeah.
They're like, nothing's happening.
Yeah. What the hell? It's not going shaking or anything, It's not going right. It's not going left. It doesn't do that, because that's just the yoke. That's for when you're actually in the air. Yeah. You use the rudders and everything to control the ground motion. But yeah, no, interesting fun fact. Now, so as I'm taking this class, it's like the final week. It's a 4-week class. It's the final. You take off from the airport. You get, you do your ascent and everything. You get into the traffic pattern, right? Because a lot of people don't know this. Every airport has a traffic pattern that they follow. That the FAA tower will give them the directions and the traffic pattern, and when it's their turn to land. So anytime you go to an airport, for example, or you're on an airplane, you're landing, you'll notice that you'll probably pass the airport and you kind of circle around it, and then you land because you go into the pattern, whatever. I'm getting to the point. So it's the final test, and I get up, get into the traffic pattern. And he has us fly around a little bit. He gives us some directions to go. I can't remember. Don't trust me to fly a plane now. So it's finally, okay, get into the traffic pattern. So we're getting to the traffic pattern. I'm getting ready to land. I crash. But the plane...
How'd you crash?
I don't know what happened. I think I got nervous when you say, oh, it was a test. But I crashed in the landing, but it didn't flip over. It was... I wouldn't even say it was a crash. It was more of just a very rough landing.
I'm imagining it like the whole front of the plane just like... It was a rough landing.
It was a rough landing. If I remember, it wasn't really a crash, but it was just a really... Yeah. It was just a really rough landing. And I remember the guy, and I'm sure he's passed now because he was like in his late 70s doing this class. And this was, more than 10 years ago. And he says, Brian, any landing is a good landing. But you really want to shoot for saving the plane. So the reason, yeah. So the reason I bring that up is because we might have had a rough takeoff, but I think we had a really good landing.
Any landing is a good landing, Brian. But I think the plane is still intact.
Yeah, the plane is still intact.
We got a couple more runs here.
The plane is still doing good.
Get some gas.
We're going to get some gas, and we'll get back up in the air real soon.
Check the landing gear.
I'm thinking about my story, and I realize it's opposite, because the landing is the end, and we aced the landing, but the beginning really fucking sucked. All right. Well, on that note, John, it was a pleasure talking to you, per the usual. Actually, this turned out to be, I think, a good episode. And that's a testament to our consistency. We had 2 episodes that didn't air, but that also showed our consistency, too. And then we're going to be recording next week as well, getting another episode in. So, a quick update. We're actually going to we talked about in the previous episode some different content that we're doing. So in addition to the car videos and other future videos like that, we do have some plans in the works. We started writing episodes for the What If series. What if we could mine an asteroid, for example? Or what if aliens existed? How would that shape our world? And, what would happen? These are the questions that these kind of hypotheticals or counterfactual questions we're going to explore. So that's still in the pipeline. Stay tuned for that. But, John, any final words before we close up?
Any landing is a good landing.
Yeah, see. No, but you got to say, you got to... Brian, any landing is a good landing. But the best landings are the ones where you save your plane. I think I fucking did crash, and I think that... Oh, man.
What was the plane? Like a Cessna?
I think it might have been a Cessna.
Yeah.
My brother's a pilot.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a pilot. I think he's out in Bakersfield. He does...
That's cool.
He's an instructor. But that's for another conversation. Next week, we're going to talk about planes. And not spend so much time on boats. Spent a lot of time on the Titanic. Actually, I really enjoyed that. All right. We're going to close up. Thank you for watching the Below the Trees podcast. Please stay tuned for more episodes if you haven't done so, or you enjoyed this even just a little bit. Please like, comment, subscribe. Really helps the algorithm. I didn't think I'd ever say anything like that. Anyways, this is the Below the Trees podcast. Thank you for your time.